Welcome to MarketWise Live, the real estate edition, the podcast that gives you the hard facts behind what's going on in real estate. Realtor Mike.Freeman, a Coldwell Banker realtor who holds an MBA in finance, draws from his financial background and his deep network to bring the most value for anyone looking to buy, sell, rent, or invest. And welcome back to MarketWise Live with Realtor Mike.Freeman. He is here. He is back in the studio. Mike, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Dave. How are you?
I know you're doing great. You know why I know?
No.
Because as we're recording this, we're just about 3 days away from the Patriots.
Oh, I can't
on
wait.
the precipice of a return to the Super Bowl. Are you beside yourself with excitement or what?
Yeah, I really never thought they'd be here. I thought if they have 9 wins, I'd be really happy.
Yeah.
10 wins would be above expectations. So I can't wait. I was wishing the game would be here, but then I looked at the weather forecast and 8 degrees in a snowstorm. Maybe it's better.
Yeah.
It's not here.
I looked. It's going to be a low of 1 degree in Denver, so it'll be cold, but probably no snow. We are. I mean, yeah, this has been a gift this season. Did you go to any of the playoff games?
Yeah, I went to both of them.
You did? Oh, fantastic. So is it true that the crowd was as loud as it's been in recent years, or what?
Yeah, it was really loud. And yeah, it felt like the old days. It really did.
Yeah. All right. Well, we do have business to attend to here, after all, on MarketWise Live. And as Mike will do, he brings in people in business, people doing interesting things, people with maybe some relation to his practice. And you have 2 guests today in studio. So what are we doing here, Mike? Introduce the guest, please.
Yeah, so I know 2 people. We've never had this before.
Amazing.
I feel like I'm in a tennis match going back and forth watching tennis. Okay, so anyway, I have 2 guys who are, I know, going to do a fantastic job. They're from Eastern Mass ADU. They are brothers, so hopefully that means they like each other. Yosef and David, I'll let you guys just briefly introduce yourselves. Yosef, you want to?
Yeah. So I'm Yosef Ellis-Rech. I am the project manager at Eastern Mass ADU. I have a background in project management and asset management for private equity real estate funds, and we're excited to be here today. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, and I'm David. I am the construction manager at Eastern Mass ADU. My background is actually on the mechanical engineering and automation side of things, and I actually hold my CSL, so I have the construction supervisor's license for our business in Massachusetts, and as well as that engineering background. I've been on job sites since I was about 14, so a lot of a residential background there from both our investing standpoint, but also just home construction.
Perfect, and we'll obviously get even more into that, but I want to start by saying, how did I meet these guys? A lot of people who have been guests I've known for a little while. David and Yosef came to my office a couple of weeks ago, Coldwell Banker in Canton, and spoke about ADUs, which is obviously a hot topic in real estate, and they did a great job. And I thought to myself, these guys are personable, they're fun, they'd be great guests for the podcast. So really looking forward to the conversation. And I also want to tell the audience we have something else in common that we didn't even realize, or I didn't realize when you came to the office. But when I put that you and I were talking, Yosef, I put it on the family calendar, and my daughter Rachel saw it, and she said, "You met with Yosef?" And I said, "Is that the Yosef who used to be a wrestler?" So why don't you just briefly, I guess I just gave it away, but you know 2 of my kids, right?
Yeah. So freshman year, I had a math class with Rachel, and then your son, Sam, we were on the wrestling team together. I think David and I actually hold the brothers win record for sharing high school wrestling, and I think our first public speaking gigs were the middle of the locker room giving a pump-up speech before getting out on the wrestling mat. So wrestling had a huge impact on us, taught us to really work hard, and it gave us a lot of confidence going into college and then afterwards. So we still get back there as much as we can to help out the kids, and it's definitely something that I still love to do when it makes sense.
That's great. And Dave, Sam as well, right?
Yep. Yeah. So like Yosef said, just coming back, working with the wrestling team while we were wrestling in college, we'd come back, do some coaching sessions and help out. So definitely got experience and met with Sam a couple times just on different techniques and stuff like that. And like Yosef said, yeah, wrestling was a big part of our upbringing and something we enjoyed. And a good call out. We still have the Sharon High School brothers win records. So
yeah.
If anyone's coming for that, let us know.
I mean, you guys, I remember hearing about Yosef. You're a couple years older, Dave.
Yep.
So I remember hearing about Yosef and hearing how good you were, and I think both of you went to the state finals, state championships, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was. I'll call it my brother here. I think it's the dynamic duo here. He kind of paved the way for me. I started in middle school a little bit before him, and so then coming into high school, I really could really start off well from the start. And I think being brothers, there's always a little extra practice at home, and there's the match is never quite over. So we definitely made each other better, and I think that continued with our working relationship to this day, where we're always, whether on a job site or back at home, we're always thinking about the business, trying to push it forward. So it's we can take those same kind of mindsets and bring them to what we're doing today.
So that I have to ask the question. Did you guys wrestle each other in high school or college? Like who won, who would win?
Yeah, I mean, I think David probably would have the upper hand here. He was definitely a little bit bigger than me. The only thing I might have him now is his shoulder is a little bad.
Oh,
yeah.
So,
could take advantage.
yeah, I mean, but I would try not to pop it out. But we haven't really wrestled a full match ever because he was always much bigger than me.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I had to ask the question, right?
Of course.
Okay, so let's get into your business. And my first question is, so we talked about how the name of your business is Eastern Mass ADU, and we know that it's a hot topic in the state. So maybe you could start off, and I'll start with you, Yosef. How'd you guys get into this?
Yeah, well, I mean, it really starts all the way back in 2020. We were lucky to get into real estate by fixing up a single-family house in Sharon and renting it out and seeing how that could really be a spin wheel for all of our other projects. Unfortunately, when we looked at other properties on the market, we didn't see many. So David actually took the big step of saying, hey, I'm going to buy something sight unseen for $30,000 up in New Hampshire. Mm-hmm. And when you buy something for $30,000 sight unseen, it has all the problems you could ever think of and more. There was skylights in the house. By that, I don't mean skylights. I mean huge holes in the roof. There was the mold in the house was so bad that we had to live in a shed in the back for 2 months.
Wow.
Yeah. And no running water, no toilets. So we got really good friends with the people down at Rite Aid and the people at the gym. We'd go 20 minutes to the gym. But that was really our kickoff into real estate and just being on the job site every day, making it work. And then once that kind of created a nest egg of earnings we could go forward with, we did other flips in residential real estate. So we kind of did everything in the small multi and residential real estate world. And then with this new law coming about, it made a big difference in David's life, and he can speak to that more. But we realized, building ADUs, especially as the housing prices went up, is really the new way to add housing at a good rate. And for either investing or for family members, it's really the thing that makes most sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So, do you want to expand on that a little bit, Dave?
Yeah, sure. I mean, more on a personal side, for me, what it came down to was getting into real estate. That's what led to this, right? So Yosef spoke a little bit about our investing journey. For me, that started all the way back when I was in college because I was taking a semester off to work what's called a co-op as a mechanical engineer, and I did my first stint in a more corporate office. I'd only worked at startups before that. So I did 8 months, and I realized I got to figure out something else, another way to make money that's outside of the corporate world, because I'm not sure this is going to be my forever path is the cubicle life. And so from there, that's what, like Yosef said, we got into real estate investing, starting in Sharon, then picking up a single family and then a couple multifamily properties up in New Hampshire and other parts of Massachusetts in the long-term rental game. As interest rates have changed, and I think you can speak to this on your financial background a little bit, but interest rates as well as just the market conditions, rental real estate hasn't been as profitable for us and something we're as excited about because the cash flows just weren't where we wanted to see them as they were in our early investing days. And we saw this ADU law come out that really we think has opportunity, like Yosef said, to outpace even single-family growth in Massachusetts and be a way to add to the housing market and also be profitable in different ways.
Right. So let's talk about that ADU law and how that's really changed things. From a real estate background, from a real estate perspective, what I'll say is I've talked before in the show about how one of the big issues in real estate, not just in this area, but nationwide, is there's not enough inventory.
Yep.
And we see that even more in the Northeast because there's not a lot of land that you can build on. You can look in Texas or Florida or many other states in the South and the West where you can build. We have open spaces, but in those areas, but you don't have them here. And so let's talk a little bit about when the law changed, how it changed, and what it means for people now.
Totally, yeah. So, I mean, I think the first point you made, I want to emphasize is, right, typically the way to build a new house in Massachusetts is to tear down an old one.
Right.
And that doesn't actually add housing stock, right?
No.
It might, in some ways, it actually makes the housing stock more expensive, because to justify tearing down a house, you might buy a $500,000 house and build a $2 million house. So it just didn't actually make the housing stock more affordable for people. So this law came about, and essentially what it allows people to do is to build a second small home on their lot. And that can be a lot that has a single-family dwelling, or can have a two-family, and you can build an ADU or that second small home on that lot. Before the law, right, there was a lot of restrictions. The big one was owner occupancy. So if I wanted to build an ADU, I needed to live there myself as the owner, and also the person I wanted to move in often had to be a family member. That is honestly a lot of our use cases for our customers. But the problem with that is it might not be their buyers, the next buyer's use case. And so the value of the ADU is really limited to that exact, basically, homeowner's use.
Right.
And so it really only became a tool for the very wealthy, because they were the only ones who could pay the cost to build an ADU and not think about the value of the home long term. Compared to now, where if you build it for your grandma and she lives there for 10 years and you guys have an amazing experience living together and being an intergenerational community, when you go to sell that house, because whatever, your life changes, the next buyer can fully take on that value, and it's more valuable than what you built it for.
So, yeah, and then what did the state do that's different than, say, what they did 3 years ago? Like, what was the law change?
Yeah. So I think the big thing is that the state came over top of all local zoning ordinances.
Right.
And they said, regardless of what you have in your local zoning code, this is going to be a protected by right use case for ADUs. And that's an accessory dwelling unit for people who might not have heard that. So it has to have its own kitchen, bathroom, and sleeping space. So it really is a self-contained small house. And when they said, hey, this is a by right protected use, it means that you don't have to go through the zoning board process of going through an appeal, which you would often have to do in a lot of these towns. And that could cost $10,000 plus to get architectural plans, to get a site survey, to get septic engineered if you're not on town sewer, to figure out all those things just to go to the zoning board of appeals and get a no from them. And that obviously is costly and not something most people want to do. It could take up to a year of going through litigation. Oftentimes you might even need a zoning attorney. Where now, because it's a by right use, if you fall within the town's existing offsets for zoning, you can hook up utilities, you can go ahead, you can submit your paperwork, and you can get a building permit within 30 days.
And that's the big difference, is the local zoning. And as both of you and producer Dave knows, living in a town like Sharon, which is very restrictive, I think that ADUs they're a way that you can increase the housing stock, to your point, Yosef, because in Sharon, we're almost all septic. And the town doesn't allow you to build a McMansion where you take down a 3-bedroom house and build a 5-bedroom house. It's not allowed. So by expanding, building an ADU, it's a way that you really expand, like you said, it could be your grandmother, it could be anybody, you could rent it out.
Yeah, you can have all those different use cases, and it can be different use cases for the same owner, right? They can have a grandmother that lives there, and then she lives there for 5 years, and then maybe she needs to go to assisted living. Then you can rent it out, or you can give it to a son or a daughter coming back home, right? I mean, at this point, we know that housing in Massachusetts is one of those things where it's very unaffordable, so people are making all different solutions work.
Yeah.
So do you find that it's more common that people are if they're adding a unit that didn't exist before, which is what your business is, obviously,
Yep.
Is it more common that it's sort of like an in-law, that someone in the family, or do you find that it's more common that they're renting it to somebody they don't know? What do you see, Dave?
Yeah, good question. I think that right now, let's say, push for someone to actually get over the edge and decide to do this construction project is often for a family member or somebody they know or have a relationship with. It's not just purely for the rental income. But the big change is that in the past, if they were thinking, oh, my returning young adult is going to be living here for 5 years as they get on their feet and launch into the world, or my grandmother is moving in, or a parent is moving in, right? They can then rent that out afterwards, because that situation is usually not something that's going to be infinite. It usually might be 5, 10, 15 years. But now it has value down the line, whereas before, I think that would hold people back a lot from making that decision. And I do think that also from the investor standpoint, we do have those clients. It has to make sense for the numbers. And right now, it does a lot of times, but it's specifically where the town is and what the average rental income could produce.
Makes sense. And Are these units typically standalone, or are they connected to the house, or does it matter? How does that work?
We've seen it all. Yeah, I mean, we're looking at projects that it's a basement conversion. We put sprinklers in the basement, great fire separation. We have garages up to 500 to 900 square feet. Some are detached, some are attached. We have people that want to do something above their garage and do, or even their attic. So we've seen it all. I think the thing that, if you can do, often adds the most value is a fully detached structure, especially on lots that have enough land where you can make it feel separate. Because then, whether it's for a family member or a rental, you can really have that separation that makes it feel like a separate dwelling, but you still are a minute walk to each other. So that, I think, is the ideal use case, where the lot is, most lots in Massachusetts are over half an acre. So you have plenty of land to build a small secondary structure, right? We're talking about a 900 square foot structure on a 20,000 square foot lot.
Right.
So it's a very small percentage of the lot when you really think about it.
So just delving into that a little bit, you talked about how people can convert space they already have.
Yep.
Or you can have a completely new unit that didn't exist before, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you find is more common?
Again, I think when we look at permitting data from Massachusetts, I think detached is more common.
Okay.
Especially because a lot of times people already have the attached or the interior space already converted to some shape or fashion. So the new permits we're seeing are for mostly detached structures. And then often the work with what we're doing with our clients is also mostly detached structures. But that might be even detached garage that we're converting in existing space. It just, I think that's what people are most comfortable with doing first. And then down the line, we might see more attached or interior structures as well.
Makes sense.
Yeah, most people don't want to lose square footage in their existing home at this point. And also just from a real estate perspective, right? If you're increasing the square footage of a property, we advise our clients that's the best way to go, because you're adding value by increasing the square footage rather than changing existing square footage.
Makes sense. Okay, well, I think what I'll do now is we're going to pause there. We'll continue the conversation in the next episode, but I'm going to hand it back over to producer Dave.
Thank you, Mike. We're up to the portion of the program that we call More About Mike.
More about Mike.
More about Mike.
More about Mike.
And what we do is we spin the magical wheel and then figure out what question we're going to ask of not just you, Mike, but all of our panelists today. Yeah, round and round she goes. To remind you of The Price is Right or Wheel of Fortune. It's one of those.
Reminds me more of The Price is Right, that one game.
Yeah, the Showcase Showdown with the big wheel.
Was that always in the showdown?
That they call it the Showcase Showdown when the two people. No, what do they do? They have you spin that giant wheel and you try to get 100. Anyway, the question is, if you had to give a 10-minute TED Talk with no prep, what's the topic? You're giving a 10-minute TED Talk and you have to lecture an audience on something that either your expertise in or you just feel like BSing for 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. So who would like to take, Mike, who should answer? Well, you want to take that first or you want to direct it to one of our guests?
I think I'm going to let Yosef do it because he seemed to be interested in this question.
No, I mean, I just did this thing. So I just hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, and that's a trail from Mexico to Canada. And that was about 2,600 miles. So I feel like I could give a pretty interesting talk about that, talking about the different bears we saw, talking about all the mountains we climbed, all the different snow we trudged through. And honestly, I also proposed to my fiance on a mountaintop on that trail. So
come on,
I could have some good tidbits to share. And I think it can be an inspiring story to share with people, and maybe it gets people outside a little bit to hike in their own local mountains.
That's
very
a
cool
great story. How about you, Dave?
I think for me, I would pick disc golf. That's my TED Talk topic. Coming from the engineering background, I love throwing discs in the woods. You try to get them into these metal baskets. Each disc has a different flight characteristic and flight pattern where it has a different fade and glide, and I think it's a great sport. It's also a lot less impactful on our environment than other things. You can play right in the woods, and a great state park right by us, actually Borderland State Park, has a fantastic disc golf.
I was going to ask you if you've done it there. I figured you have.
Yeah, one of my favorites.
That's great.
I've been disc golfing at Borderland with my son Griffin, who completely kicked my ass.
We'll have to go then.
Yeah,
we can do a podcast
while
walking.
Yeah, in the woods.
It's a fun course for sure.
Yeah.
But you don't maybe, I mean, Mike and I are at an advanced age compared to you guys, so you don't realize there's a lot of, it's both technique and strength for the so-called drive, the first disc. He was throwing twice as far as me, and my arm was really sore, but it was fun.
Wow.
Anyway, who's next?
Me.
Okay, Mike.
So mine, and Dave alluded to this at the beginning, mine would be about, you get Patriots tickets your first time. You've attended this is your first game. You want to tailgate. You don't know where to tailgate, how to tailgate, where do you park, what time to get there. You know, what do you do?
Wow.
So that's what I would do. It'd be like a whole guide to where you should park, what you should bring, whether you should do your own tailgate or drink. Just
this is useful information.
Yeah, and what time should you go up to the game?
There's so many tricks to that.
There's so many things, and I'm fortunate enough that I'm a season ticket holder and have been for a long time, and so I feel like that's something that's where I could add some value.
Yeah, I saw AC/DC. When was it? The tail end of the summer, I guess, this year or whenever it was, at Gillette Stadium. So not a Patriots game, but still, you got the complications with the parking and everything else.
Oh yeah.
My cousin had driven in from Brooklyn, and we parked in different lots, and he was staying with me. So I live in Foxborough. It's like a 8 to 9 minute ride from the stadium. He got to my house, and I showed up like 45 minutes later because I had picked the wrong lot.
Yeah.
You got to know these things.
You have to know. I see things on Facebook all the time. I got tickets. What do I do? And
Yeah.
I can help people out.
Dave and I,
like
we went to a Zach Bryan concert there, and we got out of the stadium. It was pouring raining, and we were trying to find an Uber. I mean, we had to walk probably 2 miles to get finally to the place where the Uber could pick us up. So we definitely could have used your TED Talk at that point.
Yeah, Gillette Stadium navigation, guys. You got it.
Listen to Mike.
Yeah,
Listen to Mike. That could be the new
Mike.
name of the podcast.
Yeah.
That's true. And I just to add one thing, when it comes to so my expertise is with Patriots games. When it comes to concerts, people are just all over the place in terms of driving and parking, and so Patriots fans usually there every game, and it's somewhat organized. But soccer games, concerts, that's where it gets a little dicey.
We can send you to the concerts. You can write it off as a business expense.
Yeah, I like
you
that.
Can say, hey, I'm going to this concert to make a podcast about it.
Yeah, there you
Absolutely.
go. Exactly.
I like
Thank
it.
you. Joseph and David, do you want to tell people where they can find you guys online, learn more about what you do?
Of course, yeah. So it's easternmassedu.com, easternmassedu on Instagram, Facebook, everything. My number is also 339-364-1873. Give me a call for a free ADU site assessment. Happy to come out and take a look at your property.
Nice. Can't beat that. And Mike, please remind our listeners, although they probably know by now, but let's remind them how they get in touch with you.
Sure. So my email is mike.freeman@nemoves.com. And my phone number is 617-759-1513. And you can also find me, like Yosef said, Instagram, Facebook. MikeFreemanHomes.com is my website.
These guys did fantastic. Did they pass the audition? Are they coming back for the next episode?
They were amazing.
All
They're
right.
absolutely coming back.
We'll learn more about them in a future episode. For now, you can find this podcast on YouTube. You can find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you find your pods. Check in next time. Thank you for listening to Marketplace Live.